Hello, welcome back to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Open Series in Atlanta. I'm Nick Miller, alongside number 27 on our leaderboard, John Taylor. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good, man. Nice to see you again.
Always good to see you here, grinding away, trying to make your way up a little bit higher. You've got a nice deck. You know, people have been trying to make the Aristocrats theme work since the original, versions we saw way back in the day that Sam Black, Brad Nelson, all of them championed. A lot of cards coming from Khans of Tarkir and now Battle for Zendikar that really let you do this. But you haven't stuck to Abzan. You have 4 colors going on here, because why not?
Right. I started with Abzan because I realized that Abzan, or Catacomb Sifter, is insane, especially in this shell. But I didn't really have any way to close the game, no flyers. I mean, Smothering Abomination, but it just wasn't good enough. So I switched over to Mardu with Butcher of the Horde. You lose Catacomb Sifter. You're a lot more aggressive. You can get them dead a lot quicker. But I really wanted to make a really grindy deck, great in the long game. So I switched. I did the 4-color, not blue. Did Evolutionary Leap and Catacomb Sifter as just a splash in the Mardu deck. So I'm liking it a lot, though.
So more Mardu base with the green splash, for the Sifter, Evolutionary Leap. It really just lets you keep going with the value train.
Yeah, 11 green sources for four green cards, no green cards on the board. It's pretty good.
All right, and the Mardu theme, I think, really looks pretty strong because it allows the combination that people saw back in Khans of Tarkir block. Bloodsoaked Champion, Butcher of the Horde, that combination just very powerful on its own.
Insane value, those two together. Then you add in Zolaport Cutthroat. You can start machine gunning them down. The sweet play is you can attack with Butcher and Bloodsoaked Champion, sacrifice it, bring it back, sacrifice it, bring it back. It's as much money as you got if you got a Zolaport Cutthroat anyway out, and machine gun them down. Yeah. Especially with Outpost Siege on the field, just kill all the creatures. Yeah. It's insane.
So another sort of effect to get the gain and drain along with the Cutthroat. You often can use the Siege not as a card advantage unit, but as a way to kind of supplement your theme.
If you're ahead, you put it on dragons, and they have a hard time killing your stuff. If you're behind, you draw cards. Either one's good, or it just depends on the situation. It's your 5th Blood Artist effect in the main. I got 2 more on the board, but those are more for the grinding matchups, so I like it a lot. It basically replaces Smothering Abomination in the grinding matchups. I like it better in that. It doesn't die, basically.
Right. Yeah, so we have the 2 value creatures going in here. We've seen Sultai Emissary before. When it dies, you get a manifest. But now we have the Carrier Thrall.
The almost strictly worst Sultai Emissary. It's Sultai Emissary number 5 and 6. I only got 2, got 4 emissaries. It's really just there as value. There's nothing special about it. It is great when you can go turn 1 Bloodsoaked Champion, turn 2 Carrier Thrall against grinding matchups. It's really a lot of damage, yeah. Especially if they're starting off slow. Just because it's a 2-1 though, not because of any value.
Right. So just with those cards alone, of course, Hangerback Walker, because why not?
Hangerback's insane.
All of these creatures, those 3 plus Bloodsoaked Champion, you just have this engine of just so many ways to generate more creatures for what you have. And then the grinding starts. And then I really like Smothering Abomination here. This card, we've seen this thing, people toyed around with stuff like maybe Bitter Blossom, things in Modern, ways to use it there. Here, you're already sacrificing enough creatures.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, besides the obvious value, it doesn't really have any negative text on it, except unless you're playing it by itself.
Sure.
But it just says, draw your deck, or just beat down with a 4/3 in the air, which is great. People, when I first read it, I was like, oh, okay, this is okay. And then oh my God, that has flying.
Yeah.
That's insane. So yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, one keyword can make a lot of difference.
Oh yeah.
Your deck has a lot of flying when you combine those 2 creatures, Butcher of the Horde along with Smothering Abomination. Sorin as well can make some flying threats.
6 big flyers, then you got Hangerback Walker and Sorin, so yeah.
All right, so we've gone over the Outpost Siege. Your removal spells, of course, you got Murderous Cut, a little bit of Bone Splinters here. Obviously great with the entire thing you're working with here.
It certainly seemed a lot better on paper, honestly. So right now we got 2 Murderous Cut, 2 Bone Splinters. I'm not liking Bone Splinters a lot. Right. It's not been great so far because you're sacking all your stuff to other things anyway, and sometimes you draw it without a creature and you just lose.
Sure.
It's still good. Maybe as a one-of, maybe I should make a more diverse or versatile removal spell in place of at least one of them.
So when you're working with a deck like this, what are you trying to beat in the metagame, and what are your strengths and weaknesses?
You're supposed to crush all the 4 and 5 color decks. It's not supposed to really be close. Siege Rhino doesn't matter, and big creatures in general. Silumgar, the Drifting Death is an issue. You got a bunch of X1s, but you've got Crackling Doom in the board for them and a bunch of Outpost Siege. You just outdraw them a lot of the times. Evo Leap is impossible for them to beat. you're just trying to beat up on the other grindy decks. It should, in testing, it's beat the other Aristocrat decks we played against. It's beat 4-color. It's beat Ramp. Ugin isn't the be-all, end-all that you would expect in this matchup. You got Hangerback, you got Catacomb Sifter, and Smothering Abomination, and then the Manifest and the Eldrazi Scion. So you got a lot of colorless in here, which you wouldn't expect, but it ends up being okay. Don't have any way to really kill the Ugin besides attacking, which kind of sucks. So that goes to the board, though. So you got some decent answers on the board.
So you've been tinkering around with this deck trying to get ready for the Pro Tour, correct?
Yeah, Pro Tour next week. I really want to play a grindy deck, and I think I've found the grindy deck I'm going to stick with, although some numbers need to be changed. So. Okay.
All right, let's move to the sideboard here. We've got some 4-ofs in Transgress the Mind and a Russian Cleric. Got to have some game against the mono red. Got to have a little bit of discard.
Yeah, I've realized so far that the Russian Cleric is probably just worse than the 2-mana.
The 2/2 that gets you to gain life?
The destroy target attacking black or red creature.
Okay. Surge of Righteousness.
Surge of Righteousness. Almost strictly worse. The idea was that it gains you 3 life, and you can sack it to either Evo Leap or Butcher or whatever, really.
Sure.
Get some value out of it. I like it. It's not as good as Surge, though. No. And I probably wouldn't run Surge as a 4-of, though, so maybe there's some more room to play around. Transgress for ramp or just big stuff in general, it's been really good so far. Exiling Dragons is great.
It's one way to deal with them. They can't get them back with the Dragonlands or any of that shenanigans. So you also have more Outpost Sieges to go with the grindiness. You got some Crackling Dooms.
For Dragons. For Dragons, which Esper Dragons is a little bit of a rough matchup. The game 1 is pretty close. Game 2, I feel like they board entirely wrong because of the way I board. So it ends up working out really well. Because Crackling Doom, Outpost Siege, you got Transgress the Mind, and Utter In for whatever Planeswalker, but it seems to be pretty good afterboard. Sure,
making a zig when they zag. You got Complete Disregard, again, probably helping out in the Jeskai matchup, along with Hangerbacks.
Hangerback Walker and Jeskai, and it's Arca Red and Landfall Red, or Red-Green, but yeah. And then just a catch-all and Utter End. I honestly had a 15th spot open, and I wanted something that I could bring in against anything if I felt like I needed to, like Jeskai Ascendancy or something like that.
Sure. Answers any permanent, as long as it's not a land. So you have that going for you. All right, so you're gearing up for the Pro Tour here. You start off 2-0 after your 2 buys.
One buy.
Sorry, 1 buy. But what do you expect the metagame to look like going forward, entering the Pro Tour?
Man, I really don't know. I haven't done enough testing. I've been testing all week, but that's not as good as I could be doing, really, honestly. So, I expect the 4-color decks to do fine. I really expect a good Jeskai deck to be there. It's just Jeskai Black, probably, but just really good. Probably a Landfall or RG deck to be really good in general. Maybe ramp something like Ollie and Chazi's doing. Could see that being really good too. I don't know. I feel like I should beat up on a couple decks and probably lose to the aggressive decks. We'll see. Okay. I like to choose matchups to win and then try to fight through the bad ones and figure it out.
All right. Well, this deck looks great. 4 colors, of course. The Aristocrats. Try it out. John Taylor, thanks for joining me here in the sideboard.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Atlanta.